Now you can start, please.
All right. Namaskar again to everyone who have gathered here. We have a very strangely worded topic for this evening, being nobody, going everywhere. In human life, everybody wants to be somebody and everybody wants to go places. More the merrier. One wants to be in limelight. One wants everybody to know who one is. In unknown ways, this desire to be famous, to be popular, etc., rises in the human mind. Typically, I said in known and unknown ways, even those who apparently are intensely conducting the so called self inquiry, those who are exploring, those who are looking for ending sorrow, who are seeking the so called liberation, enlightenment, and so on, are also harboring this desire to become somebody. And in the wisdom as conveyed by the teachings, this wanting to be somebody is a fundamental psychological problem. Being somebody and going places is an extension of this being somebody. Therefore, essentially, it is the problem of being or becoming somebody. And in this caption, we have put it being nobody and going nowhere. Incidentally, this is the title of a popular book by a Buddhist nun who, after her initiation into Buddhism in a formal way, took that name Ayya Khema. Years ago, I had read her entire autobiography. Born in Germany as a Jewish little girl, she had to run for life, boarding some ship that was ready. She was one of those who saved themselves. She first went to Japan as a refugee, and even as she was 12 or 14-year-old, in front of her eyes, a bomb fell in Japan, and I guess her brother was sucked into the earth, and that shook this 14-year-old girl. In front of her eyes, her brother vanished into a pit that was created by that bomb that fell, probably dropped by uh, the Allies. As you know, Hitler had joined hands with Japan and they were called Axis, and England, America, and I guess India also had joined together. A number of countries in World War II had joined together to become the Allies. And this girl then, as a young woman, gets a chance to go to England. She spent some years there. You know, the Jewish were chased from place to place. She then migrates to USA. Please give me another 2 minutes. That's interesting story. This German woman lives so-called normal life. Marries, has children, is a good housewife, homemaker, has a job, earns money. And somewhere when she was 56 or so, she came upon some Buddhist teacher probably in California, in USA, and she was very drawn to those teachings. She became a very sincere student of those Buddhist views. And in at the age of 60 or 62, she was given this initiation. There onwards, she was known as a nun, a Buddhist nun, Aya Khema. She did rigorous austerities in Sri Lanka. She was very enterprising. She established even a convent in Sri Lanka, which, alas, all this is described in that book. I think that book is titled I Give You My Life. That convent where she was training young women in Buddhist renunciant life, there was some kind of attack by hooligans or antisocial elements who burnt up the ashram, and I guess some nuns were injured or even killed. She went through a lot of hard times. Then again, she moved back to a complete reference to this author of the book, Being Nobody and Going Nowhere. Lastly, I should say she was recognized and appreciated by Dalai Lama, who praised her and gave her some title also. And before her death, at her old age, maybe when she was 80 almost, she returns to Germany and sets up a Buddhist center there, names it the Buddha House, Haus. But HAUS of German, I believe, is the same as HOUSC of English, German, the Buddhist house. Probably she dies there or she dies in America. And that book is wonderful and it touches upon the essence of the teachings we are studying too. All of us, in numerous ways, want to become somebody. And here is a suggestion or suggestion: being nobody. Being somebody is our conditioned thought. We read Dharmendra passed away and so much praise upon him for a few days. Really, not much is coming, but much may start coming now in another day. But little bit of video clips came. This morning I got a video clip where Dharmendra with jean pants and jean shirt is riding a two-wheeler to heaven. And in heaven he meets with so many other celebrities of Bollywood who are already there. They welcome him. He joins them with a broad smile on his face. Okay, as we look at it, we begin to think, ah, look at Dharmendra. What a wonderful life he lived. I am way behind him. When will I be as eminent? Or, when will my life be colorful? Crazy. This is the stupid self which is always into daydreaming, always wanting to be like someone else, in the process imagining that Dharmendra, this Sachin Tendulkar, that Einstein, in whichever field, must have had a glorious life, unlike mine. Oh, my life is such a compromise. I am such an unlucky man. The conditioned mind goes on blabbering without actually knowing facts. The fact could very much be that these celebrities were living a life of much conflict and misery, and we could have been, or we could be better off. We don't know. So that's why we say the intelligence of thought is limited. Limits of thought is, I guess, one of the titles of a compilation of the sayings and writings or words uttered by Krishnaji, limits of thought. You and I listen to such talks or read some books and are deeply touched by the truth of such statements. Thought is limited. We nod. Yes, yes, I see the point. But next moment, a thought arises in us. A thought might arise in us, when will I write such a book which will sell like hotcakes and people will appreciate? When will I be a famous speaker, a famous author, a famous? When will I? So, this is, let me not dramatize it anymore, um, is a human weakness. If we are to become somebody in the society, that will anyhow happen. But the question is, why are we concerned about it? If we live in the present, if we live in alertness, awareness, in sensitivity, if we live in a balanced manner, which happens when we clearly notice the imbalance in our behavior, in thought, word, and deed, there is so much of imbalance, so much of contradiction, so much of mechanicalness, so much of doing the same thing which we always did. We are unable to hold back certain urges, certain tendencies, certain habits. We are carried away by the flow of habits. And alas, riding over all those psychological processes, there is this thought, let me be somebody. But Ayakema summarizes a lot of her Buddhist teachings, being nobody. The bliss is ours when in our heart of hearts we are nobody, we know we are nobody, and we don't want to be anybody either in our heart of hearts. Today, as scholars, today, as people who have read books, etc., superficially we say, I don't need any position, I don't want any praise. All of you take away the laurels, all of you take away the trophies. I don't need anything at all. But if others really literally take away the trophies where I also had worked hard for it, we get so bitter. I did so much and they just took away the prize, leaving me all alone here. That's why I say this whole world is wicked except me. And so on. So this bug, this deep conditioning, I want to be somebody, this desiring attention. It's not just 3-year-old or 5-year-old children who want attention. A child wears some new clothes or has got a new doll or has got a new toy, and the child is doubly happy if adults say, what a wonderful toy you have. Where did you get this doll? Oh, on your birthday, what a beautiful dress you are wearing. I never had such good dress when I was of your age. If we say, the child is mighty pleased. I'm saying that habit doesn't leave us after we move out of childhood. Even when we reach 80s and 90s, there is the desire to be somebody. Therefore, friends, what is this being nobody? It is the complete undoing of a deep rooted conditioning. Once more, let me clarify, though everybody I'm sure knows already, yet it is good to repeat the essential clarification. This wisdom is not against becoming anybody externally. Situations and circumstances make us secretary here, president there, treasurer here, general manager over there, or so many things. Situations may make us something or the other. There is nothing wrong with that. You may as well occupy a position. You may as well sit on a chair You may officiate, but this title, being nobody, going nowhere, is all about being totally free in your heart of hearts of either pride of the position you have occupied, or at places you got to be free of shame or guilt or some other label that you generally put upon yourselves. Sometimes for fault not committed by you, you are put behind bars. Sometimes you may commit a fault and you are put behind bars. So either way, whether you were at fault or you were not at fault, whether you committed sin, so called sin, or you did not commit any sin whatsoever, if life were to bring you to an unenviable scenario like being in a jail, imprisoned for right or wrong reasons. Either way, here is certain wisdom where psychologically you completely come to terms with it. You have no complaint. You do whatever is possible functionally, but internally, is it possible for you to have certain silence? Not silence of sleep, not silence of being in coma, not silence of some mental disorder. You are very alert, you know what is happening, you know you did not steal even 1 rupee, but the allegation was that you bungled 10 crores of some public institution, and before you realize what is happening, you are behind bars. In a sense, it pains you, but this is the wisdom. Being nobody is the wisdom which is very much possible for any one of us to come upon by proper inquiry, by proper uh, contemplation upon the truths that mystics share with us. Being nobody is the message of many wise people. Incidentally, in the so called Bhakti Marga, Tulsidas, Kabir in his own way, this is what they call complete surrender. In complete surrender, one comes upon the state of, in one's heart of hearts, looking at oneself as nobody. I am nobody. I don't have to go anywhere. This going anywhere, in one sense, is physically, but that is not so significant. In a more figurative sense, going nowhere is letting go again of desire to become something. Because when you occupy some coveted position, figuratively we say, look, she has gone so far, we are all behind. She has become this. So physical travel is just one of the 200 expressions of going somewhere. Going somewhere is thus of many kinds. Basically, it's a play of images. You have a certain exalted self image of which you are proud. Some other time, a certain image that you have of yourself pricks you, hurts you, causes pain to you. Oh my God, all my classmates have settled so well. I am nowhere. In this way, suppose a thought arises. I'm giving examples. You know. So, constructing some examples. So, we compare and we then create an image of our own, which is unenviable. Then we haven't gone anywhere. But if we also were general manager of that company, then next to your MD of this company, and then we entered politics and became a member of parliament. Today I am advising many ministers in Delhi, like that, blah, blah, blah. And about that, suppose we are very proud. That is going somewhere. But this says being nobody and going nowhere. Externally, one could be very active. There is no contradiction with the wisdom, but it is the internal silence, internal harmony, internal coming to terms with what life has given to us that is expressed in this beautiful uh, set of words given by Aya Khema. In the Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, to make a passing sentence, Adi Shankara's way of putting it is being everything and going everywhere. Because they have this Aham Brahmasmi. Participating in a K dialogue, I am calling Vedantins they. Somewhere else, I am one of them. Then I make some statements about the so-called Krishnamurtiites. These Krishnamurtiites, they talk like this, I say. If you are by mistake or deliberately in that audience, you will shake in your chair. Hey, he is making a statement apparently criticizing Krishnaji's people. And when I praise Krishnamurti and make some statement about Vedanta, the Vedantis shake in their chair. Someday I'm sure a few Vedantis from right side and a few Krishnamurtiites from left side will pull me in both directions. Tell me even finally, are you an Advaita Vedantin or are you a Krishnamurtiite? Then with folded hands I would say, neither Shankara of Advaita Vedanta nor J. Krishnamurti of whatever you have made into Krishnamurtiism permit us to label ourselves as belonging to this or that. It is the complete abandoning of all labels. We are not here to strengthen an identity of we belong to JK circle. That is against Krishnamurti's teachings. Don't say you are a Krishnamurti follower, he would say, and maybe in less explicit manners, Shankaracharya also would say it's not important for you to say you are Advaita Vedantin, but let go of your notion of being this or that. Once you think of yourself as this, once you think of yourself as that, that is Jiva Bhava in Advaita Vedanta. Let go of your Jiva Bhava. When thought created limits no more play their mischief upon your existence, the Advaitins, call it Brahma Bhava, Aham Brahmasmi. Leave these Advaita Vedantins alone. Coming back to the language we employ in these dialogues, friends, the summary of all this is letting go of self judgment deep inside us. What gives us small pleasure here and there, and what gives us lingering pain at other times is self judgment. At any point in life, a certain negative self judgment rises in thought. It is thought which raises it. We suffer. At any moment, whether it's a 10-year-old girl or a 83-year-old lady, a thought rises in her saying, how wonderful you are, how great you are so blessed. Because of that thought, the typical human being feels on top of the world. The question, with that, let me conclude. The question to be raised is, can we be free of the clutches of thought? Thought describes us having reached somewhere, having become somebody. Let go of that thought. And thought tries to provoke us, telling us, look, you haven't become anybody. Look, you haven't gone anywhere. Thought tries to needle us. Can we be free of such thought, which is nothing but some strange social conditionings happening in various ways? Therefore, being nobody, going nowhere, is an excellent summary of being free from conditionings, being in the moment, watching with no shadow of the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Harshad sir.
Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
When Swamiji was speaking, I did not hear it very well, maybe because the internet is not very good on my side. So if internet is giving some problem, you can stop me. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Swamiji. This title, it gives me um, a memory of Buddha and also Krishnamurti, like when Buddha was walking in the forest, Angulimal was following Buddha, and Angulimal shouted, "Stop, a monk!" And Buddha said, "I have stopped, you stop." So, what Buddha meant by stopping is not not doing any harm to any living things, and non-violence. That is what stopping in that sense is, not being harmful to anyone, not to even our own self. And similarly, one professor had come to Krishnaji and said that I have not moved, I have not changed, though I have studied your teachings for many years. And Murthy said that you have not moved because you have not stopped. So this stopping means not gathering knowledge, but being very, very alert to watch what is happening with us. Thinking has become a habit and it goes on whether we like it or not, because after we have learned a language and learn how to express, and it is very necessary that we should know how to express our thoughts, because it's necessary in the daily life as well as to in relationship, communicating. We need language and thinking, and so thinking cannot be stopped. Even if we try to stop, it will not stop. But there is some another dimension within us which can look at thinking as it is moving, and that dimension is called awareness or intelligence. And when that dimension comes in our life, then there are no problems. Thinking is not a problem, uh, because if any problem is arising, like anger or fear, it can be seen at its root. So human problem is that that dimension of intelligence is not awakened. Otherwise, thinking is very, very useful. And with this intelligence, thinking will not create problem for us. And it can even create something beautiful, creative. So thinking is necessary, but what we need is ongoing, effortless, motiveless awareness of what is happening. And that is the purpose, I would say, the purpose of Krishnamurti's teachings or Advaita or Zen Buddhism is not about stopping, not about being somebody or not being somebody. It is not about that, but it is about being fully alive to what is happening in our front of our eyes as well as in the mind. So, um, I think I will stop here right now. Thank you.
Why D Murthy, sir? Yes, sir.
Good evening to all. Being nobody and going nowhere. That is the title selected for today's discussion. But there is a great similarity with what Krishnaji talks about. Uh, he has written a book called Happy is the One Who is Nothing. So he has given great importance to nothingness. These are letters written by Krishnaji and compiled into a book form to a young friend, where he is talking about uh, being nothing in the consciousness. You have to make a clear distinction here, being nothing in the outer world and being nothing in the inner world. Outer world you need, like we say, roti, kapda, makan. That minimum requirement is definitely there. Even Krishnaji also needs some money as other to live his life. But we are not talking of being nothing, means being a beggar on the road or something. We are not talking of that. We are talking of the psychological nothingness. So that we have to understand very clearly. As we all know, there are a lot of disorders in our consciousness. And now it's very clear after reading Krishnaji and talking to a number of people and attending various conferences, etc., we also realize that we are our consciousness. And what is in your consciousness, that we have to understand. And as you know, there are a lot of disorders in our consciousness. Krishnaji has mentioned a number of times, order in consciousness is essential, and it cannot come by practice. It cannot come by a system. But the order in consciousness is possible only when you eliminate the disorders in your consciousness. So we have to see what are the disorders in our consciousness and of which we are very aware. Like we have got anger, we have jealousy, we have fear, we have sorrow, suffering, all those things are there, of which we are all aware. Unless all these disorders are eliminated by staying with them, by understanding them, and having that energy, being in a state of attention to understand them, then only the possibility of having order in consciousness happens. That is also a state of, as Krishnaji says, a state of nothingness, a state of nothingness. Now, let us understand what is nothingness. Nothingness, Krishnaji said a number of times, nothingness is not a thing. Not a thing. If you actually expand that word nothing, it becomes not a thing, right? So not having anything is nothingness. Our consciousness is nothingness when all the psychological disorders in our consciousness are eliminated, right? Now, in Christianity also, they say thought makes things, thoughts become things. So the things in the consciousness are a creation of human thought. The anger in us, the jealousy in us, the fear in us is nothing but movement of the human thought. If the thought stops moving, then that particular disorder in consciousness is no longer there. That is the understanding. So what is important is, can the movement of thought in the psychological field, again, we have to be very careful about talking about thought. In the physical and technological world, we need the thought very much. Without that, we cannot move. You become a vegetable if you don't have thought. You will not know where to go back to your house, or you will not know what your name is. So we are not talking about that. But thought in the psychological world, if it can stop, the movement of stop, a thought stopping is elimination of all the disorders in the psychological field. Likewise, the movement of thought in the psychological field creates time. So when thought stops, the time also stops. That is very essential for us. Can that be done? That of course, many people have tried, but nobody has come to that level, as far as I understand. Now, in a state of nothingness, what is there? That is a very interesting question. And in fact, when the psychological content is eliminated, there is no content in the consciousness, that is, it is empty. That is the state of pure awareness. That is a state of pure awareness. And that nothingness is a state of love and compassion. So, if you are able to understand your psychological makeup, understand the disorders in your in your consciousness, and eliminate them, and we have discussed also number of times. For example, anger is there. Everybody is angry. Even today, the so-called saints are also angry. Krishnaji once told in his entire life he became angry only once. And while talking to people, he says, while explaining about anger, he asks people, now have you understood what anger is? And if somebody says, yes, I understood, then immediately he says, then you will not be angry again. So in his terminology, understanding anger means elimination of anger once for all. That is a state of pure awareness, and that is a state of pure nothingness, and that is a state of love and compassion. That is what I understood. Thank you very much.
Shakti ji, please unmute.
Yes. This topic of today reminded me of some lines of Mirza Ghalib. My voice is reaching, sir?
Sir, it is slightly low.
Okay.
Please try
Yeah,
to speak louder.
Yeah. It reminded me of Mirza Ghalib's lines. न था कुछ तो खुदा था, कुछ न होता तो खुदा होता, डुबोया मुझको होने ने, न होता मैं तो क्या होता. It's very difficult to translate it. You see, this constant becoming, which implies envy and different type of pursuits in life, it is something which is generated by thought, and this thought and I are not separate. This is what I understood through Krishnamurti's teachings, at least theoretically. And this self-knowledge or self-knowing, which begins with watching outside, observing outside world, and then outside world without interference of words, thoughts, trees, nature, everything to watch outside, listen to what someone is saying. And after the observation of outer world, come within, watching one's thoughts, feelings. And this watching within is where whether I am watching thoughts or I am watching eyes, the one and the same thing. So this is something which is, I can say, we learn from Krishnamurti. Watching the gaps between thoughts and probing that the entity who is observing, is that entity different from what is being observed? Noticing, examining all that inner space. I just have a question, Swamiji. Is there a parallel in tradition of this type of sadhana? Thank you, sir.
Please repeat, is there a parallel in what?
In tradition, is there a parallel in tradition of this type of approach of sadhana? This watching thoughts and watching within and watching outside world.
Oh. Yeah, the language used is different. It can be taken as a parallel. It is said, contemplate upon your not being what you think you are now. So they don't use the word image, they don't use the word conditioning. Those words are modern and they may belong to modern psychology. In tradition, it is said that you are something different from what you have been thinking you are. That is very explicitly said. And then the elaboration also takes a different direction. It says you think you are the body, but you are not the body. That language is used. So if we closely examine, to say I am not the body, I am not the mind, mano, buddhi, ahankara, chittani, naham, everybody knows that line. I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not the memory, I am not the egoism, I am not the eyes, I am not the ears, I am not the nose. There is a traditional, contemplation. Actually, as we study these teachings in the writings of someone like Krishnaji, no one can miss seeing the parallel. That here there is a bundle of self-descriptions, labels. A man feels proud. I am now the chief executive of a multinational company. Whereas in tradition, the example given is attachment to one's body, one's position, attachment to one's wealth. Those things are talked about. Even in a simple introductory work like Bhaja Govindam, there is one Bhaja Govindam song. There also it is said, Ma Kuru Dhana Jana Yauvana Garvam. Don't be proud of your wealth, your popularity, or your youthfulness, and so on. So there's a lot of parallel. However, Lastly, the traditional language, since too many people are talking about it, has lost its impact on people. They feel, oh, we always heard this from childhood. Whereas when it is expressed in a modern today's language, people stop and ask, oh, what is it? What is he saying? So many times that's what I personally experienced. You know, Vimla Takar says, can you be in image-free consciousness? She creates an expression. When I first read that, I was really startled. Wow, this is so wonderful. But after some time, it occurred to me that this is, in a way, no different from Gita saying, be free of ragadvesha, be free of ahankara, mamakara. Because what is, after all, image? Image is ahankara. Only you have to take the word ahankara not only in a sense of I'm superior to others. Even when we feel I'm so low, all others are high, that's also a form of ahankara, ahamvritti. Yeah, traditional teachings have a parallel, but that doesn't mean we discount or we undervalue Krishnaji's teachings. Krishnaji's teachings have a certain penetrating nature, they have a force in them, and above all, he spoke those not out of bookish scholarship. He spoke year after year for decades without preparing, without announcing a theme or topic for his talks. He just spoke as though from bottom of his heart, fresh and newly, freshly served. Therefore, it had, and it has a unique value.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Kulkarni, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. First of all, I would like to thank Swamiji. You have said in last talk about these likes and dislikes. Once again, now you have mentioned about the images. Coming to the today's topic, the being nothing and going nowhere. So I found that the thought and words come to an end. So there is no self-center or an image or whatever I wanted to call or think, it completely stills. Then what remains? Next question is the most of the times Krishnaji used to ask this, if you are nothing, who you are. So by being nothing, we maintain the subtle form of ego or the I. So not thought of I am nothing, not imagination or image of I am nothing. Similarly, not the thought or image of going nowhere, but the beyond the time and space. Means what? See, the moment I dissolve myself like river into the ocean, or the I, or the imageless consciousness, then there is no others. I found that there are no others. Similarly, no I. So it became the universal, means there is no difference between the observer, observed, and observation. These three are lost, but which cannot be explained in words or thoughts. So just now Swamiji explained same thing. It penetrates into ourself and will radiate the infinite energy, radiance of love. I stopped feeling others, or just it can happen like thought using, not thought using us, but we are using the thought for conversation in daily life, family life, or going out. We are using the thought. Otherwise, the limitation of thought is limiting to hardly 1 to 2% of our daily life. So number of thoughts come down, and the no judging, condemning, slowly, by seeing, it stopped. So the remains can be there, but those have no effect on me. The reminiscence is just like a dream. After dream effect, though it's like it's there, but it's not there. That's what I feel from today's lecture. Thank you once again.
Chaitanya ji, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Uh, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think one thing that comes to my mind is most of my wanting to become something it has its origin, its root in some superficial observation. Like I observe somebody who appears to be uh, doing well in life, is materially prosperous, rich. I mean, his material conditions, his external conditions, his physical conditions are good, and therefore I want to become like him. But when I compare, this is based on some superficial observation because I'm not looking at that person from within, as it were. Like I'm not seeing that the person may be tormented by those very things because of which I'm trying to become like him. Am I making myself clear? Like maybe he's also passing through the same state of consciousness. He has anger and jealousy and so on. And if I see that, then I don't want to become like that person. Because then I realize that by becoming like him, I only become like myself, like what I already am now. So mostly it is based on a very superficial observation of another person, like whom I want to become. That's one thing because I'm not examining, I'm not trying to find out what being nothing is like. What does it mean to be nobody? Because that is something mm, that will only lead to speculative thinking. I'll start imagining about that state. I am trying to become, and therefore it is easier for me to examine my habit of wanting to become something. I cannot even think about that state, being nothing, being nobody. So when I examine that, it leads me to believe, it leads to the perception that my becoming is almost always based on a very casual observation of other people. The second observation that I wanted to share, Swamiji, with all the participants and also with you is when I say I am not this, when I say I'm not anger, I'm not my lust, I'm not my desires. Now, what is that statement or that understanding based on? Is there a basis to it? Like, do I have some knowledge which I'm not able to express? And on the basis of that, I deny, I negate anger, which means, do I have that knowledge, understanding something that has become blurred? I can't see it clearly. It's a gut feeling, intuition. What is it on the basis of which I negate what I experience on a daily basis, have been experiencing mm, almost every day in my life? And on how do I negate those things? How do I negate? Because if I don't know really that I am not all this, without knowing what I am actually, how do I negate all these movements, psychological movements in me? This is a question uh, that often arises in my mind. Like when I say, I'm not this, not that, what is the basis? Is it some memory that had seemed to have uh, passed into oblivion, something that I knew but I don't know now? Because if I'm angry, I'm angry. And what makes me say that I'm not this? I'm not my anger. This is something that interests me, and I would be grateful if you all could just explore it a little bit. Yeah, thank you.
Swamiji,
Yeah, words are spoken by those who know what they are talking and also by those who don't know what they are talking. Therefore, to say I am not this would be coming out of a deep realization, a deep disowning of what applies to the personality, or such a statement could come from having read some books, Majority are this of the second kind. Majority of people read books, listen to some wonderful talks by someone, and they feel so good about it. There's some poetic beauty, there's some literary beauty about the statements of Kabir or Sufi masters, Vedantis or Zen gurus. It doesn't matter. So many subscribe or many buy into the charm of those statements. We don't say they did not understand that statement at all. They would have understood a little bit. But in their case, their own identification with being somebody would not go away in spite of their reading books or even talking. So, therefore, it is said that when it happens, it just happens. The letting go of attachment to one's own self, or letting go of the self itself, we may say. The letting go of the self, the little I, happens when it happens. It's a mystery. It's a mystery how we are attached to the self, and it's a mystery when one fine morning the self as though drops off from us. That's all I can say.
Prasad sir, please unmute yourself.
Namaste, sir. Namaste to everybody. Being nobody and going nowhere. Krishnaji has always valued a person being a nothing. As Swamiji had said, there is a book, The Happiness of Being a Nothing, or some such title. Letters to some young friend, where he talks of being a nothing. And I liked one thing about the Swamiji's talk. That is, being a nothing doesn't mean that you should try to be a nothing in the physical world. You don't have to become a beggar to be a nothing, in the sense in which Krishnaji has used that term. If you happen to be a secretary of a government department, continue to be secretary. But the only thing is, psychologically you have to be a nothing. That is, you don't use your position or your status for be in the interest of your, accumulation of wealth or power or name and things like that. So that is a good distinction. Being a nothing doesn't mean being a nothing physically. That is one thing. Then I think Swamiji has said, going nowhere is just an extension of being a nothing. Yes, in one sense, it is just an extension. But we who are used to analysis and all that, we can find some kind of difference between these two terms. Being in a thing, Krishnaji says freedom is at the beginning, not at the end. Being in a thing is at the beginning. That is, you have to get rid of by understanding, not by exercise of willpower. You have to understand that you live in the past, your past. Similarly, everybody has his own past. We all live in our past. A Christian has his own conditioning, his own past, and a Muslim has his own, and we have, Hindus have our own. So, get rid of these ideas of the hold of the past, hold of tradition in the sense of ritual and things like that, and go your hand. So you get rid of your past. Similarly, your experience, your own experience. That is, you become free of your conditioning. That is being a nothing. You have to be free of your conditioning, which is separate. Everybody has his own conditioning. So, being a nothing, to my understanding, indicates being free of your conditioning, even at the beginning. That is the thing. Then what is going nowhere? Going nowhere is the exercise of our will in different ways for different purposes. It can be for anything, for acquisition of money, power, promotion, in different areas. We struggle, effort. Going nowhere means you are not exercising your will. And ultimately, in answer to the question, who are you? We get rid of so many things. We say it is not the body, it is not the mind and all that. And then ultimately there is something residue, which is the will to live. Will to become also is prayer. Will to live. There is an urge to live. You get rid of that also, in a way. And Krishnaji said somewhere, my secret is, I don't mind what happens. That is, when you don't have that will to live, you don't have that fear of anything, you don't mind anything happening. And somewhere he says, for me, living, love, and dying are one moment. Living, when you are living, you are also dying. That is, you have no attachment to anything. Not that he has traveled all over the world and gave lectures all over the world for 60 years and established so many educational institutions all over the world. He executed so many projects. But at the same time, he says, for me, this is one moment. Living, love, and dying. That is the secret of his life. So like that, when you have no exercise of will to achieve anything, that is, you are going nowhere. That is how I look at it. You are going nowhere and you are a nothing. You are a nothing in the sense you are free of all conditioning, which includes your belief, your faith, and all that. And another small thing, sir, there are parallels. Definitely, there are parallels between tradition, Advaita and things like that, and Krishnaji. But then where Krishnaji's contribution comes is, he has eliminated so much of rubbish. Whereas in Bhagavad Gita, there are profound truths in Bhagavad Gita. At the same time, I think, I am not a scholar in anything, not even, I'm not a scholar of any type. I think there are certain statements which are horrible, which go against modern thinking and all that. Similarly, in Advaita and all that, there must be so much of rubbish. Apart, Bhagavad Gita, Bhaja Govindam is a great song, devotional song. It gives so many basic fundamental truths about life. Like it said, don't be proud of your own youth or wealth or anything like that. All these are profound basic truths. No denying that. So I think I have made my point. Thank you, sir.
Dinesh Waghmare ji, please unmute yourself.
Shakti Kumar has raised hand before me.
If you want to say, you continue, then we will, Shakti ji will unmute himself and say.
Okay. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes.
Basically, in my view, being nothing. Actually, this being is a state. And when we talk of nothing, there is no state. It is beyond state. So, this is basically just for explanation, otherwise, it has got no meaning. In tradition, they talked of underlying energy, which is doing everything. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu, Shakti Rupen Sanstith. So, even Krishnamurti indirectly says about the other dimension, and that dimension basically makes you, if your ego is dissolved in that, or goes in that, or attached to that, then it is not there. Ego dissolves completely. And then that state can be said to be nothingness. As far as going nowhere is concerned, basically this is, in my view, nowhere means what? As far as becoming is concerned, as V D Murthy has said and others have said, you have to earn your bread and butter. So for that, everybody, which is his individuality, or whatever is his uniqueness, he goes in that direction and becomes something. So that is okay, fine. And then he understands that there is a state which is beyond all this. So how can that state be accessed or can be attached to that state? So this being nothingness is an inner state, we can say, and the outer, in the outer world, one has to do whatever work he has to do. And because of his uniqueness, you will find that one becomes engineer, one becomes doctor and all that. But when we talk of nothingness, the underlying energy has to be tapped. And you have to become, actually this all verdict is you. You is not there. So one has to attach to that energy. If we see Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there also no iti nirvichar vitarka samadhi has been talked. In Tantra also, they say that the energy has made all the world, and one has to touch to that state. We can say state is again a wrong word. We have to attach to that. Then, if we talk of Vedanta and Bhakti Marg, Atma Nivedan and God and something which is beyond this, beyond your ego, has been taught. Means why all the murtis have been shown more hands, more powers, more this attributes and all that has been shown, which clearly indicates that you have to start from your liking and then go beyond that. So Mahalakshmi, say Lakshmi is different and Mahalakshmi is different. Mahalakshmi is the basically that energy, which is they call in a different way Tripura Sundari or whatever it is. So if we go deep in tradition also, then we will find that parallels to JK has been given. And JK on the contrary crossed you. Crossed you means questioned you. Why he has questioned? Because he wants that you should awaken and find out what is the truth behind it. What is the truth behind the tradition? You go to any, whatever he has said, that gurus are not there and gurus are this. But he has worked in a one way, guru only. So he said that find out whether, in my views, his intention was to find out what is real guru and what does he want to say on his comments. Because in tradition also, it is a one way of seeing at the things. And when you say na iti, means there is a not this, negation. Means this is not only the whatever manifested world is there. That is one way of looking at the things. But beyond that, there is a lot of things which are yet to be manifested. And that is the power of that energy. Even recently also we see whosoever goes beyond this in your, we can say that in space, he goes in space, then he finds that there is no sound wave is there. No sound is available there because sound requires a medium. So when he speaks, you cannot speak there, or there is no thought is there. But there is something which comes to your mind. You can not express it. So thought is also beyond expression. And that thought you have to suppose transmit to another person, then you have to use electromagnetic waves. So these things one has to go into deep and see. And then only he can come to the right thinking. Thank you.
Shakti ji, please unmute yourself.
I just wanted to say something about Chaitanyaji's question. I'm not answering it, it's just an observation. You see, I saw this in traditional approach, that when you are angry, you are not that anger. Anger is different from you, or that sorrow is different from you. This is in the witnessing. Rajneesh ji talks about this traditional approach, that you are not that anger or that whatever feeling that is there. And Krishnamurti's approach is slightly different, because he says that you are that anger, you are that sadness, you are that chattering. So, because the moment I say I am not this anger, the moment I negate that anger, I create a conflict between myself and anger. But if I probe into it, I examine that it is true, and Krishnamurti says that you are the anger, and then that if we experiment with, for example, sadness, and that emotion is there, and if that is me, I cannot do anything about it. And to say that this is separate from me is an interference of thought. And when there is no interference of thought, any emotion, its texture changes. So that is my feeling. And another thing is that, you see, what tradition calls the higher self, perhaps this is my intellectual inference. You see, it's Krishnamurti calls that choiceless awareness. He calls that awareness. He doesn't give the self or I into it, because that's completely impersonalist. It cannot be self at all. So the approaches are different. Thank you, sir.
Modern, you can end it now.
Hello. 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 Am I audible? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
So may I speak for just 2 minutes?
Please do.
See, I'm a very confused person, and I'm a bit puzzled person, and my approach is, see, being nothing. When you begin this, so how do we start? So at the level of senses, they are in operation. So if somebody pricks a pin into my skin, I will feel the pain. And if I'm eating a delicious meal, there is the taste of it. So there is this pleasure. So the pain is felt by me, the pleasure is felt by me. So there is no doubt about that. And we are not talking about avoidance or a removal of the senses or their ability to take in the pain and pleasure sensation. So we are not saying that we will put our hands into the fire. So logically, so what happens is these very senses are feeding this very data of pain and pleasure into our mind. And I have only one brain, sir. So once I have only one brain, it not only records the pain and pleasure, but also then goes on to facilitate more of pleasure and minimization of pain. For that, suppose, imagine, sir, I am a gardener. So, if I am a good gardener, I would I would put ensure that the thorns uh, are not uh, are not obstructing or on the path for the people, and there are beautiful flowers that come upon in the garden for all to witness. So I am trying not only for me but for all others to maximize the pleasure and minimize the pain. So that is how, and here this I cannot do without the thinking process setting. So essentially, the brain, therefore, uh, which is the thing that records the sensations of pain and pleasure, also goes on further with its thinking mechanisms. It facilitates. Thought is a facilitator to maximize the pleasure and minimize the pain in the garden that I have designed. So, likewise, what is wrong in my ambition or desire to make my life into a garden wherein there is maximization of pleasure and minimization of pain? So, less of thorns, more of flowers. This is what I am interested in. So, what is wrong if thought is flowing in this direction? Please understand, it began the brain, the only one brain which I have, it began with recording of sensations of pain and pleasure. Then it started, how am I to functionally design a garden in which there will be more pleasure and less of pain? And likewise, now I am extending this very thought in ambition, desire, etc., wherein my maximization of pleasure and minimization of pain is my agenda. Now, what you are saying is, sir, what Krishna ji or even these religious scriptures are saying is, Ganga should flow uh, uh, from the Gangotri to Rishikesh, Haridwar, but after Haridwar it should stop. How can the movement be stopped at Haridwar, sir? Of course, I do realize once it goes to Varanasi, Patna, it gets muddy or dirty. I understand through our ambition and desire, we have muddied the waters of our lives. And I'm not even saying that it is possible to maximize the pleasure. In this pursuit, I might maximize pain also. But still, sir, how can anybody stop the river at Hardwar? It is not a possibility. Are we deluding ourselves, sir? Sir, this is a question is asked with utmost respect and reverence. Kindly, kindly do consider this, sir. Thank you, sir.
Modak, please end it now.
Yes, sir. Thanks, everybody.
Sir, can you give me one comment only? Sir, Kamleji, only one comment. Sir.
End it in a minute.
Please be brief, sir.
Sir, only one comment, half a minute only.
Yes, continue.
I just want to express my appreciation of what Shakti Kumar ji has said about tradition and Krishna ji on this question of anger. How Krishna ji viewed anger, how tradition viewed anger. So I just wanted to express my appreciation of that comment, of his position. Next, I did not agree with his comment that the big self with capital S, is choiceless awareness. That I don't agree. Thank you, sir. That is enough.
Please end it, Modak. Please end it.